ladies and gentlemen. I will call the Budget, Finance, and Investment Committee to order. And as always, the first item on our agenda is to approve minutes of our previous meeting.
Move to approve.
Thank you, Commissioner Jernigan.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Peake. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, gentlemen. Mr. Beatty reports for the Investment Committee that no bids were taken this month. And if you find his investment report on our iPad, you'll see that the LGIP rate is at 0.10. And I will make one announcement for him. February the 28th is the last day to pay the county property tax without being delinquent. So that is February the 28th.
Madam Chairman, I do know something else, that he's been going around the county, talking to seniors at churches and centers about the tax relief and the tax freeze, to let them know.
Motion to approve the report.
Thank you, Commissioner Sandlin. Seconded by Commissioner Jordan. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, gentlemen. If you will please locate your fund condition report. Our Finance Director, Mrs. Nolan, will begin with the development tax.
In January, we received $156,000, which brings our total for the year $2,265,750. Moving to the
Cash balances.
cash balances. Our balances at the end of January was $188,825,000, with operating funds being $178,585,000 and borrowed funds being $10,240,000. You'll see something later, directing your attention to the debt service fund. If you remember, we did move with the interfund borrowing of $7.4 million from debt service into the school capital projects.
I guess most of that's sitting in black and nothing.
It is, and the other item is Smyrna Primary, where we have not borrowed any money for that. It's sitting at $109,125, so we are using cash of another one of those projects. But I'll do, at the very end of the meeting, want to talk about Smyrna Primary and that whole project. Then our revenue. I found something, Commissioner. If you look at the revenue report, I found some tick marks. If you look at the first one, you see this one? Are y'all there?
Okay.
Revenue.
Revenue, on the revenue review. And the general fund were 60.64% collected. We've got some
On this
new.
smiley face.
Yeah. Able to find.
They went to the app store, I guess.
So to identify those things that are some positives. To report for the county trustee, the collections on the current, property tax on the current levy, at the end of January 2014, we were 58.16% collected. This is just one piece of the local taxes, compared to 55.98% of the same period last year. So they're ahead of collecting, that's what I'm trying to say. Also in the general fund, some of the reasons of when you look at how much in dollars that we've collected in total taxes in the general fund, we're at $37,566,000 compared to $30,780,000 for the prior year. Pilot agreements make up $2 million of that. The current property tax is $4.1 million, and development tax is $612,000 higher than it was in the prior years. That's some of the reasons why that you're seeing such a large cash balance. If you remember, the revenue balance, 5 additional cents was put in for the general fund and also for the debt service fund. So if you go to the second page, you see good tidings on pretty much all the funds. The only reason why I didn't do it on Fund 131 is that it's pretty close to average of what we do normally. 6 months reported for the sales tax. The sales tax in the rural area is up almost 20% over the prior year at this time. And for all governments combined, we are 6% higher than we were last year. And you'll see that reflected mostly in the school fund, where they do get half of all the local sales tax. Debt service looks good. One reason, what I've just said, because of the improvement in development tax and because of that faster pace of collection on the property tax.
Well, good news. Motion to approve, Madam Chairman.
Commissioner Sandlin, thank you.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Jones. Any further discussion or questions for Mrs. Nolan? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, that motion carries. We're ready for our risk management report. Mrs. Stinson, good to see you, and you have financials for us this evening.
Yes.
And we'll start, of course, with Fund 264.
Okay. Looking at 264 for the month of January, our per employee per month ended at $889 for our medical experience. When we include our on-site clinics, it rises to $930.59 compared to prior year of $835.57 for a year-to-date average increase of 1%.
Shall we move to Fund 266?
For Fund 266 for the month of January, we're at $278,050 compared to prior year of $519,400 and, is it 86? I can't see mine.
I think it's
Sorry, Mayor.
Yeah.
I'm glad you said that.
Yeah, 519,488. I
said over trying to make
they
it
started
larger.
playing tricks on me. I wasn't sure myself.
I was on the other fund the same way, so.
Were you? I could see the other one. So both are doing very well.
So moved, Madam Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Stanley.
Second.
Was that second, Commissioner P? Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, we are ready for the general fund budget amendments. Ms. Duke, if you will join us, we have two amendments from juvenile detention. Good evening.
Good evening. I'm going to ask to move $14,650 total from within our budget. Basically, it's just to provide some additional funding for overtime and to correct some minor budget amounts in a salary line item.
Motion approved.
Second.
Commissioner Jordan, seconded by Commissioner Schaefer. Any further discussion relative to the motion?
Just looking on the correction for the salary line item, where is that at?
It's the 4,650 piece of it.
What's the situation there?
This is very similar to the ones that I brought in last month, some salary corrections after the, but I didn't bring this one in because I knew she could do it within her budget.
Oh, that's guard, so it's minute across the board, whatever the situation was, or?
Yes. These are just probably detention officers and corporals where we've had some movement.
So that's broken down into how many?
How many people?
Yeah.
Gosh, I at the moment can't remember how many. There's quite a few in that attendant line item, quite a few in the guard line item.
Total or that is effect?
I was just that guard situation there that you were doing, I guess. the second request for,
Where it's coming is increasing the guards.
yes,
I mean, it
4,600.
it probably wasn't but a couple, three, but there's, it seems like, how many is in that line, do you remember?
There are 18 detention officers and 6 people in the corporal, so
Okay,
it
that
would,
breaks it down
yeah.
minute then, please. Yeah, okay.
Gentlemen, we do have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes.
Commissioner Peak?
Yes.
Commissioner Sandlin?
Aye.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Ely?
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Correctional Work Center,
No, Mr. Solandi is out of town, so he's not here, so we're.
okay, and Mayor Burgess, I think if you're going to explain these, we could take this as one vote, if that will be okay.
Well, the first one is to move $5,000 from other contracted services into repair and maintenance of buildings. Secondly is to move $1,000 from custodial supplies into repair and maintenance of vehicles. And the last one is to, this right here is more significant in that we have a DVR system, a camera system out there, and it's analog, it's not digital, and a substantial part of it is malfunctioning, so we have to replace that. We're replacing that with a digital system, and it's imperative that we have this for our security. So that's $18,025, and we don't have any money in our budget to do that. We're asking that to come from unassigned fund balance, but safety and security, we have to do this, and we don't have any other opportunities to do this at a lesser number.
And, this, security camera, the one we have now is old and it's
But it's not the
malfunctioning. and
we have cameras, and you've got these devices that control these cameras and record the information, et cetera. It's the recording device.
you can't get parts for them anymore.
Not on this particular one, no.
The building's only a few years old. Did we move it from the old building?
No,
or-
this is 6 or 7 years old, and it's.
I guess that's a long time
That's
in
a long time.
technology, yeah, years,
Technology.
but to me, we just opened the building, though, and I'm
I
thinking.
mean, it seemed like yesterday, and it's
Six, 7 years.
6+ little years, a few years.
Make a motion to approve.
Commissioner Schaefer,
Oh,
thank
sorry.
you.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Jernigan. Any further discussion? Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes.
Commissioner Peak?
Yes.
Commissioner Sandlin?
Aye.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Ely?
Yes. From the Health Department, Ms. Garrett.
Evening.
Good evening.
So I have a couple of amendments.
The first one we've got up is the one that amends to the contract to the
The
state.
big one.
The big one.
Bigger contract, okay. So on this, the state has given us a position, a licensed practical nurse position. And so we're adding that to the contract and making the contract match up perfectly on all of that. This is at no cost to the county, it's the reimbursable dollars. Any questions?
This makes our budget agree with the state contract.
Yeah.
And that contract follows.
The documentation of the contract is after that amendment, okay?
Yes, sir.
Do we need to take them separately? Probably so.
You can.
Motion to approve this first request.
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Sandlin, seconded by Commissioner Jordan. This is the contract. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, gentlemen. And next,
Okay, you approve the contract or the amendment?
should we specify?
Or it
Both at
maybe
the
was
same
all-
time.
That's what it was?
Okay.
Yes.
We want to make sure with Commissioner Sandlin, Commissioner Jordan, that it was the contract
Yes.
and the budget
Yes.
amendment?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you for clarifying that.
Was it okay to do a budget amendment without a roll call vote since we're dealing with dollars?
You're probably
Be
right.
I
safe.
hate to disrespect the
No.
chairperson, but
No,
you know.
thank you. We should do that. Would you call the roll, please? Are we clear on what we're doing? We're gonna call the roll on that motion in second. Thank you. Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Sandlin?
Aye.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Ely?
Yes.
Okay, and the next amendment I have is the alcohol and drug program. Okay, make sure I was in the right order. So we received some grant, or some money from the tobacco settlement, money to work on tobacco cessation programs. Again, this is state money coming just through the county. And so this is a contract to receive that money.
This is the 32,094.
No, sir,
No.
it's 103,668.
Reimbursement.
That's it.
Back one more.
10 of 24.
That's all.
And this is fully funded by the state.
Yes,
There
sir.
we go.
Pass
There we
through.
go.
Yes, sir.
I'll make a motion to approve the transfer.
Commissioner P, seconded by Commissioner Jernigan.
And execute the agreement, I think we already signed, yeah, and execute the agreement associated with the.
We'll add that to the
Yeah.
motion.
Thank you.
Any further discussion?
I was just gonna comment that it's nice we're using the settlement money for tobacco cessation.
Yes, sir.
Rather
I'm very
than-
excited about
In
that.
many instances, it doesn't get used that way.
Yes, yeah.
Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Sandlin?
Aye.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Ely?
Yes. And the next is for your equipment.
Oh, the communication equipment, yes, that's correct. That's the next one. So there is an agreement that we do every year with the state for funds that we send in as a county to the state. And we have one payment left on that for this year, which is $32,094. The state wants to allow us to keep it here at the county to use to buy new phones, a new phone system for the health department. So that's what this amendment's asking to do.
We're getting the same system we just bought at Falls, so the IT can.
Yes,
help
our,
with all of them.
yes, they've been helping me
Yeah.
figure it out, and that helps that we have that expertise with the pause of what they've already kind of gone through. It'll be very similar.
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Commissioner Jordan,
Second.
seconded by Commissioner Jernigan. Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Sandlin?
Aye.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Ely?
Yes. And gentlemen, I don't want to make this too difficult, but if you will, go back to your agenda and go down to item number 9. While Ms. Garrett is here, Ms. Garrett will talk about your contract with the Tennessee Department of Health. Item 9.
Yes, ma'am. So the state is behind it sending the contract that we sign every year. You've already budgeted for it, you've already paid but now it's just time to sign the contract. So that's what I'm here to take that in front of you guys.
No surprises on the numbers or anything.
No, sir. And Ms. Nolan's looked at them and they all match up.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second from Commissioner Schaefer. And Commissioner Jordan made a motion. Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Sandlin?
Aye.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Ely?
Okay,
that
is that all
it?
you have tonight?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you very
Thank you.
much.
Thank you, guys.
Okay,
Appreciate
now,
it.
gentlemen, if you will go back up to your budget amendments. We are ready for emergency management,
That's number 17 of 24.
and it should take you right back to it. Mr. Cast, good evening.
Good evening, ma'am. Ladies and gentlemen. The First Amendment, if you're is just simply moving monies from 4 different accounts over to our electricity. Here's what we done. The last budget, the program $5,000 for the electricity for the towers. We pay that bill, and it's not enough. We got to looking at it a couple weeks ago. There's only $326 left, and did a little math and figured out we need about $4,000 more to get through to the end of the year. So we want to pull $1,000 out of the following budgets: in-service training, travel, data processing supplies, and instructor supplies and materials. Put that $4,000 in, and with a promise that next year we'll do a better job of projecting our costs for the electricity. However, there will be a little bit of a flex in that, only because we are bringing more towers and tower equipment online with the project that we're engaged in. But I think we can hit a little bit better on the mark next year.
How many towers is this for?
5. Excuse me, that's how many we're putting in. This is for the 3 towers we currently have operational.
I appreciate you finding the money within your budget, not coming up and asking us going to us.
I wasn't gonna do that.
We'll wait till the next one.
Motion to approve.
Commissioner Salmon,
Second.
thank you.
Just a few months down the road for budget time.
Seconded from Commissioner Jernigan. Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes.
Commissioner Peak?
Yes.
Commissioner Salmon?
Aye.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Eden?
Yes. Mr. Cast, if you'll explain your next request, please.
Yeah, that was the easy one. This is the
Yes.
one that's going to cause a lot of questions. I understand that. As you know, we're doing the tower project, and I believe some information was put on the iPads to give you a little bit of where we are and where we've got to get to as far as this project. And that comes from the project manager in my shop, as you all know, is Joe Gurley, and he's done a great job of watching the pennies on this thing. As you know, back when this was first started back in 2009, I believe, if unless the mayor corrects me, that the initial price tag was going to be about $5 million. Well, you put Joe Gurley in charge of something, he's going to watch every penny, like I said. And so far, the funds that have been dedicated to this is about $2.2 million. Of that $2.2 million that's been dedicated to this, only $100,000 has been from the county coffers. So we're at a point now to where the mayor asked us to take a look at where we are right now, what's it going to take to finish this, and it's actually going to take another $400,000 to finish this project. $200,000 has already been set aside by finance, and Lisa can probably explain it a whole lot better than I can. But we're coming here to ask for another $200,000 to explain finish this, with the idea we're going to finish this summer. You probably are going to ask me the next question: what if you don't get the $200,000? I asked Joe that myself. You're not going to have the system. We need the $200,000 to finish, and if we don't, everything we've done to this point will be for naught.
And this covers the whole county then?
Yes, sir.
He needs $384,652. What he was talking about, the 200 of it that's already in there, we transferred $100,000 in August of 2012 and another $100,000 in April of 2013 for cash flow. So we've already taken that out of our general fund and moved that over. So he really is asking, that's where the 400 is coming from, the 200 that we put for cash flow, an additional 200.
When you say 200,000 to finish the project, is it anything in particular that needs to be done on the
No,
project?
sir.
Or is it a whole long list of different things?
It's a
that
list
still
of
need
different
to-
items. There's a spreadsheet that I was that should have been in your packet, not in your packet, but on the
Third page after your amendment.
Yeah, that shows what we're looking at. It's different things on different sites. And like I said, that's to get us right through the project and get it completed. As far as the future, I'm not trying to give you a warning shot, but as the future, when you put in something like this, later down the road, you're talking upgrades, you're talking maintenance as well. Of course, we're not going to be talking the numbers that we are now, but that's going to be the next thing we have to take a good hard look at as well.
This year, this request for this 200,000 is from the development tax. And that's not going to affect anything else that we're planning on, because we made our budget, haven't we?
We haven't made it yet, almost.
We're ahead of schedule.
Maybe by the end of February, part of March.
On these 5 sites, have all the property been, purchased?
So most of them are leased.
Yes, sir.
In other words, we are leasing from, Middle Tennessee Electric.
Tennessee Electric, Hudson Road.
And we purchased the Hudson property, that's ours. That's a new site
New
now.
site for us.
We own the tower, but we're leasing the site at CUD out at the, near the,
Wilson Elementary.
yeah. Well, no, it's more toward, Smithfield, that direction, Highway 99. And Tiger Hill and Lynch Hill have already been in place for
Yes, sir.
years.
Well, we've gotten this far into a $5 million project with just over $2 million so far, so that's being pretty frugal, and we have gotten a lot of money from the E911, Christie Houston, Homeland Security, and three others here, two others.
$2 million of grant money.
I would hate to not finish the project, because Christie Houston's not gonna appreciate us taking their money and not finishing the project, and we're gonna ask them for something else before long, probably, so. It's a little too late to turn back, and we're coming in at 50 cents on the dollar already from the original
Yeah.
projection. So I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you, Commissioner Jordan.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Schaefer. Discussion?
Well, like the Commissioner said, it's not a surprise. I
And
mean,
we knew we were gonna have to put some monies in, we just didn't know how many
Yeah.
dollars when we started this, but this is gonna produce remarkable improvements.
Well, speaking of that, I wasn't gonna bring it up, but since we did, your predecessor and I had a long discussion about these towers when they went in. And I was told that the dead spots that we've got over in the Reedville, Kittrell area, the fire districts over there would be taken care of, and if they weren't, then they would put, units on the trucks there so they could get to the repairs. I just wanted to remind you of that, if you didn't know it.
Commissioner, that has been taken care of with the Milton Tower.
Yeah.
We've got FireNet 3 up, and our program, Kickle, Walk Hill, and Last Cassis, they're all getting good coverage now on handhelds.
Good.
That was one of the first things we were to hang out there on the Milton Tower, so.
Well, I've been on too many fire scenes and pushed the key, and
Got it.
and not just me, but our law enforcement people, our ambulance service, all of us have had that problem over the years in those areas. So
And,
it's
yeah.
good to hear that they're taken care of, and I'm gonna follow up and make sure mine will work over there.
Well, let me know if it don't. But
I will
think
call
we
you and
get-
let you know.
I appreciate it, sir. But that, and you're going to the whole idea of this project, the whole idea is to protect your first responders when they're out there doing the right things for the county. And, I can only imagine if you're in a dangerous situation, especially, one by the, first responder by themselves, and not be able to raise anybody on communications. That's scary beyond belief.
Gentlemen, we do have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes.
Commissioner Finn?
Yes.
Commissioner Salmon?
Aye.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Ely?
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Kane.
Thank you.
Mr. Farley, will you join us, please? Good evening.
Good evening.
If you'll present your request.
I'm requesting to move some money out of uniforms, 451 and 719 office equipment, into my vehicle maintenance budget. We budgeted $80,000. We've already spent $74,000 keeping our equipment running, and I want to move 5,000 out of 451 and 4,000 out of 719 into 338.
Make a motion for
Commissioner Jernigan,
Second.
thank you. Seconded by Commissioner Baum.
I agree, was there something just happened, pumper or something?
Well, I've spent $15,000 on our 102 pumper and about $10,000 on the pumper that we used to be sailing back from the station too. So I mean, they're 14 years old, and it's taking everything, a lot of money to keep them going. I mean, I've rebuilt the pump panel, the pumps, brakes. I mean, just pretty much gone through them and trying to just keep them on the road as long as we can.
Any further discussion?
Gotta maintain.
Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes.
Commissioner Peak?
Yes.
Commissioner Sandlin?
Aye.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Ely?
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Farley. We have a budget amendment from the Finance Office. Mrs. Nolan?
This is a request to move $34,000 out of our pooled employee independent insurance account into the various budgets to take care of the dependent and employee insurance for when they selected their coverage that went into effect in January. So we're asking for $2,600 for human resource, $10,700 for planning and engineering, $3,550 for building maintenance, $1,400 for finance, $4,350 for OIT, $2,900 for chancery, $6,100 for fire, $1,130 for EMA, and $1,270 for local health.
Motion approved, no be choice.
Second.
Just gotta pay the bill.
Well, Commissioner Jordan, and seconded by Commissioner Peak.
We estimate the budget based on what they have at this time for the whole year and then clean it up at the end of January.
Are most of these switching the coverage is what it is?
Switching coverage and then some that didn't have coverage now have coverage. And new employees, yeah.
Any further discussion relative to the motion? Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes?
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes.
Commissioner Peak?
Yes.
Commissioner Sandlin?
Aye.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Ely?
Yes. Okay, gentlemen, we're ready for item number 6, the ambulance fund budget amendment. Mrs. Nolan?
Okay, this is a request, sometimes we get duplicate payments and it all is counted for as revenue when it comes in, but then we have to pay it out as refunds. So really the net effect of this is 0 on our fund balance. So the request is to increase patient charges for $20,000 and to increase the refunds for $20,000.
Motion to approve.
Commissioner Peak, thank you. Seconded by Commissioner Schaefer. Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes?
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes.
Commissioner Peak?
Yes.
Commissioner Sandlin?
Aye.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Ely?
Yes. Mr. Sanby? Good evening, Mr. Sanby.
Good evening, Madam Chairman.
And you have some GPS budget amendments?
3 of them. Our first amendment is miscellaneous revenues and expenditures. It adds a total of $243,464 in expenditures to the budget. It includes $231,385 in additional revenues and takes $12,079 from unassigned fund balance for some grant funds that were not expended in 2012-13. The amendment covers 4 different issues. The money from fund balance, $12,079, was left last June, part of a donation from the Jennings and Rebecca Jones Foundation, and it was given to for professional development for our Spectrum staff. I think they gave it to us in May. So the second, and this is an annual amendment, most years, we got an additional $225,376 in account 47-143 that we received from the state. These are flow-through federal funds for its high-cost special ed students, and these funds have to be budgeted for special ed students this fiscal year in our 2 major special ed functions. The $46,759 in other salaries and wages covers a technology position that we have had to move from our IDEA federal funds because of sequestration. Right now, we don't think we're going to have to move any others this year, and we're not sure about next year's budget, but we are looking at that. We have the third item, I've got four items, $6,009 in insurance recovery funds for a maintenance vehicle that the maintenance department wants to use to help purchase another vehicle. And the fourth item, our vocational coordinator is preparing to retire, and her administrative assistant now has moved. This amendment reallocates the $17,484 remaining in the assistant's salary and transfers $49,788 from vocational education, function 71,300 to function 72,230, vocational education program, to fund this replacement position through the end of this year. And with the grants and everything that goes on in the vocational program, we really, and actually it is going to wind up being more a year of transition. So our recommended motion is to amend $12,079 from unassigned fund balance to Spectrum Professional Development, $225,376 into account 47-143, Education for Handicapped, IDEA, and the related special education funder expenditures, to amend $6,009 in insurance recovery funds, the related expenditure for a maintenance vehicle, and to amend functions 72,230 and 71,300 in order to cover the replacement position as presented.
So moved, Madam Chairman.
Okay, and gentlemen, we can do that, or if you would, if it's not a problem, we can take all three of his amendments as one vote. Commissioner Sandlin, what would you
I
prefer
don't
to
have a
do?
problem.
Would you like him to continue?
Sure.
Thank
But
you.
All right.
If we want to ask a question on this, do we ask it now, or do we ask it, come back to this later?
Ask it now. Why don't you do it?
Okay. The part about the special ed, the
Yes.
flow-through money.
Yes.
The federal government requires what we do for special ed, is that correct?
Yes.
What they give us,
No.
Okay.
It never has.
does it come close?
No.
Oh,
Now,
all right.
one thing that Mrs. Bell, one thing that we do flow these expenditures for the very high-cost students through the GP fund. Because if we run them through our federal funds, we are not eligible for this reimbursement. So it picks up a little more money by doing it
In other
this
words,
way.
this is an unfunded mandate, or
Of course.
partially funded mandate. Okay.
Partially. Mhm.
Okay.
All right. The second amendment is classified staff. It reallocates $5,770 in already budgeted classified pay, staff, and benefits to cover line items where replacement staff have more experience than the staff in place when the budget was prepared in early 2013. No new positions. And we are covering shortages in vocational clerks at the schools, difference primarily Stewart's Creek High, guidance clerks, and alternative school staff. And our recommended motion is to approve $5,770 in already budgeted classified staff pay and benefits to cover other classified staff budget line items where the replacement staff have more experience, as presented.
Any discussion relative to this recommended motion before we move to the next one? Okay, Mr. Sandy.
Item 3 made us very happy. Y'all may remember in the budget process last year, we did not know what we faced, and we knew we would have to be going to a new attendance system. We knew nothing as to its cost, upfront costs for us, annual costs, anything else. We put some additional attendance staff hours in for training, getting ready for this next year. Well, the state did do a request for proposal, which then we could choose, and we recommended Software Technology, Inc. to the board, who approved that contract. And this amendment funds $40,800 for the data conversion and $13,000 in training costs for the new student management system, the attendance system. We should be able to fund this expenditure with savings from 3 already budgeted line items. The funds are available because of late changes in our E-rate reimbursements and savings in postage. From account 72-320-307, Communication Director of Schools, $20,000. Postal charges, $10,000. Account 320, 348. And from account 72-410, 307, communication, Office of the Principal, 23,800, for a total of $53,800. Our recommended motion is to amend $53,800 from already budgeted communication and postal charges to contracted services for attendance in order to fund the data conversion and training costs for our new attendance software as presented.
Would you explain a little bit more about these late changes in our E-rate reimbursements? What exactly are?
We don't have final numbers as we're finalizing the budget, and there were some changes in some of the percentage, reimbursement percentages and all. Your free and reduced across the state and in your locality can feed into that. It's just kind of routine changes. We just didn't know about them in time.
When was the last time that we had a new attendance program? How
The
long?
state changed to the STAR system
5 years ago?
further back than that, I believe.
When did it become fully operational then? Let's put it that way.
After the first year, we paid.
Never.
We paid
That's a trick question.
and got our own support contract. And this program costs us more than STAR will. But STAR was acquired by by Pearson, one of the big operators in this. And they are not going to support it after this year, so we had no choice. So, yeah,
That's the technology world, right?
it is, yeah.
The old way with pencil and paper used to get.
We
us
can't
through.
provide all of the information they expect from us now that way. We still have those ledger books with that hand-kept information.
My motion still stands.
Okay, instead of just that one, now you're gonna include all three, right?
That's right.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Sandlin.
Jesse got a second?
Yeah.
I'll second it.
Commissioner P. Any further discussion or questions for Mr. Sandvik? Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes?
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Sandlin?
Aye.
Commissioner Schaefer?
This is one time it's good to be at the bottom of the list. Even though this is something we're gonna have to do, I can still ease my conscience and vote no on it.
Commissioner Ely?
Yes.
Go sleep good
Well, I could send the 225,000 back to the state. They'd take it.
Yeah, that's not the one, it's the last one.
Mr. Sandvik, do you have anything else?
That is all.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jeff.
Gentlemen, item number 8, the DEA fund budget amendment. Mrs. Nolan?
The Sheriff's Department received $39,470.55. And they are requesting that to be budgeted in to the asset forfeiture funds. I'm gonna round this up to $39,471. And they would like the money to be put in confidential, $29,471, maintenance and repair vehicles, $5,000, law enforcement equipment, $2,500, and uniforms, $2,500.
Like the biggest fund always goes in the confidential, and they can't tell us what that is.
Confidential. They have to shoot you.
They can tell you, but yeah.
We could all make guesses at that, couldn't we?
So moved, Madam Chair.
Commissioner Sandlin, thank you.
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner P. Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes?
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Sandlin?
Aye.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Ely?
Yes. Okay, gentlemen, remember, we've already done the contract with the Tennessee Department of Health. So if you'll go to item number 10, this is a request to apply for the home grant. Mrs. Nolan?
Yes, sir. We've done these before, and I think that they are requesting $300,000 this time for the home grant.
Is that still countywide?
Mhm.
Okay. Motion to approve.
Commissioner P, thank you. This is to apply.
Second.
Commissioner Jernigan, thank you.
guess it's a match, is
It's not a match.
it? No.
And usually we work through, Greater Nashville Regional Council of Governments, and who we usually contract with.
To service the administration of it, it's a THDA
It's-
grant.
It's usually pass-through money for us.
Yes.
I mean,
4% THDA.
Gentlemen, any further discussion relative to the motion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. The next item is a contract for purchase of D&J property for the judicial parking. Mayor Burgess, if you will give us some details on this, please.
Okay, this is a purchase and sale agreement that we have prepared here on behalf of us and D&J for the purchase of all of their property, which is about half of the block there on Lytle and Walnut and Maple, for the purpose of putting a parking garage on that to support the new judicial building. So it's been before property management. We've had discussions with them multiple times, and some of you have heard the potential purchase of this property, and when we passed the resolution appropriating the money out of a future bond issue to actually pay for the design, et cetera, and the purchase of land and construction if there's money left over there of the $5 million. So this is an official point as we get permission to move forward. The $600,000 purchase price, and we will have 60 days from the effective date of this, assuming the commission approves this on February 13th. Then we would have 60 days to do the environmental reviews to determine if there's anything of any substance that would make us not want to fulfill and finally complete this document. So we have the opportunity to do that, and I'm recommending that we move forward. It's just an outstanding location to do exactly what we need to do to support the parking requirements that we're going to have for the new building itself there.
I would personally support it even if we ended up not putting a parking
Yeah.
structure on it, because we will need that property and adjacent to our other properties as growth occurs. There's only so much property in that vicinity, and 2 blocks away is no good for a parking structure or a sister office building or something like that. So I think we definitely need to pursue this.
I don't disagree with that, but I do have a question. That's property that you're talking about purchasing doesn't take up that whole block area.
It's about half of the block.
Or-
The other half is Pinnacles.
Well, that's what my next question was. Are we gonna need any more additional property besides this to have enough room for that parking area and
No.
the rest of the judicial building? So this will be all the
This will-
property
this
we
will
have to
handle enough
acquire for
spaces
that.
The required spaces, there's enough capacity. This space is just a little larger than the space over at the clerk's building where their parking is, that you guys initially, years ago, said that would be where we would put the parking garage, but we didn't think that was good planning for the future growth needs that we're going to certainly have. So this is an opportunity to have enough space to meet the parking requirement as far as the codes from the city and et cetera. It'll be probably about a 4-story building.
This little over an acre piece of property here, is it even across the block there? I know the old, actually used to be an old filling station there on the corner, which has my eyebrow up on as far as our testing that we're gonna do. I don't know if the tanks are still there, if they took them out, if, what's the deal there. But that's some of the problems on these old pieces of property where gas units were, that they got contaminated soils. And then when you look at contaminated soils, you're talking about a lot of money.
You may be. That's exactly why we have the 60-day review period.
Is that enough time, though?
Yes, it is. I've already talked to the engineering firm that will do this, and I already have a proposal on them, and they have told me that that's enough time for them to do. The first phase 1 just will determine if we need to go further and do that, actually borings, et cetera, on that property. And it'll be included in,
They'll be doing borings on the property.
well, they
right?
won't, if they can determine there's nothing there that needs to be further investigated, we might not.
Oh, okay.
So we've got it in two pieces. First piece will determine that, and then if we have to go to the second phase, which would be borings and soil samplings, et cetera. So we're gonna ask you to allow us to spend up to $20,000 to do these engineering reviews to determine the environmental nature of any problems that may be there.
Is that within the 600,000 you're
No,
talking?
that's in addition to that.
But not today? Or
Well,
is that?
yes.
Yeah, it's coming along,
I'm sorry, I didn't.
when we
see
get
it.
to number 12, but that's when we'll talk about that. I think Lisa's prepared some information for you there.
All right, what about the building itself, asbestos, all that sort of stuff?
But
We're
that's all
testing
part
that
of
within
this,
that
that's
part
all
of this
part
too.
of this review. We know there is some asbestos there. I mean, there's already been a study done previously. It's not a lot, but it has to come up. It's basically just the tile that's on the floor in that oldest part of that building over there.
And I'm sorry, I asked, so if you take the square, is it evenly across there, you know,
Yes.
of course Pinnacle is,
Just right here.
It's a-
okay,
Yeah,
okay, all right, it is an even, yeah.
It's even, and it's,
Okay.
Basically
Good
half that
then.
block.
it's half the block.
We lucky it ain't for sale, we'll be able to purchase.
And we've already got, we came up with some rules to go by for property acquisitions years ago after the dog pound thing that went on. And that's all in our standard procedure, to always get a phase one environmental before we buy anything.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Commissioner Jordan, thank you.
Second.
Seconded from Commissioner Jernigan. Any further discussion?
I agree with Will. I think it's a good investment for the county to own the property, even if we ended up not putting that on there, assuming what we find out on the testing there. I mean, you know, any property might hold some surprises, so hopefully this one won't have any bad ones, but
Commissioner Bond?
I should add that property management was unanimously in favor of this, largely because of the location of the property. It's just such a good proximity to the buildings we've already gotten and what we're probably gonna be building.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Should we put anything in this that we look very diligently at whether, at this time, whether we should use a parking system to take care of it after it's done, or that we even look at the city? Yes, you know, put in a yes or no that we don't look at the city, or is that even appropriate at this time?
The Property Management Committee has asked some of those very same questions, but I don't think we want to stipulate that at this point until they have proper time to review that and vent that and discuss that and let us evaluate and get some real good options or to appropriate that discussion properly.
Property management discussed partnering with the city and even seeing if we could establish an arrangement with a company like City Parking, like they have in Nashville. But we decided that this motion tonight wouldn't preclude any of that. All those things could still be discussed.
Okay, gentlemen, we do have a motion and a second for the purchase of this property for judicial parking. Any further discussion?
And the money's coming from?
The mayor to sign.
We're gonna do that in just a minute.
It's coming next.
Yeah, for the mayor to sign all necessary documents.
Yeah, we'll just sign
Sure,
this.
it's all. Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Bond?
Yes?
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
yes.
Commissioner Sandlin?
Aye.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Ely?
Yes. Okay, and now, Mrs. Nolan will talk to us about a future bond issue
Yeah.
and a budget amendment.
What this, oh gosh, what's the other one? Hold on, let me get to it. All right, number 12, okay.
12.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I was at the very end of it with that amendment. Okay, this resolution is declaring your intent to reimburse ourselves for the expenditures related to the public works with proceeds or other debt obligations in an estimate of $650,000. This is saying that there's an amendment following that to put the monies in place to purchase, And we're just stating we intend to reimburse ourselves whenever we go to the market for this purchase.
That's all you need on this motion?
Well, there's this motion, and then I'll, I guess, approve this one, and then I'll have an amendment to put the monies in place,
Put a motion to approve
the reimbursement.
reimbursement.
Commissioner P., thank you. Gentlemen, we need a second.
Second.
Commissioner Jordan, thank you. Any further discussion or questions as to this resolution?
I will say in here, the mayor said 600 plus 20. I prepared this at 650, but again, if you look at that first paragraph, it provides money for everything that we could think of at this moment, and it was for acquisition of land, design, construction, and equipment of a judicial center, including parking, acquisition of property, payment of legal, administrative, architect, engineering. So if there's any money left over, we can use it for that, still within the project.
Okay, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes?
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes.
Commissioner Peak?
Yes.
Commissioner Sandlin?
Aye.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Ely?
Yes. And gentlemen, if you'll keep scrolling, we do then have a budget amendment.
And this is to put the money in the current budget into the mayor's category for land, $650,000, coming from unassigned fund balance of $650,000.
Motion to approve it.
Commissioner Schaefer, thank you.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Jernigan. All in favor, please, excuse me, call the roll.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes?
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes.
Commissioner Peak?
Yes.
Commissioner Sandlin?
Aye.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Ely?
Yes.
When did it come up for sale? Like listed
You ask
or?
him.
Well,
When we asked.
I initiated the discussions back about sometime in October. And about the latter part of December, they did decide they would advertise it for sale, and they engaged a realtor, and that realtor called me, and we had started discussions, and we had a letter of intent that was, could be voided, you might say, by either party. And then we went forward, once we got the letter of intent agreed in the property management, we've got the purchase agreement prepared.
They listed at 750 to start with.
Yes.
Well, not if it wasn't for sale.
No, it was
When-
listed.
when they listed it.
Oh, when they had it
When
listed
they listed it.
before.
Yeah, it came out in the paper,
When-
they did an article,
Yeah,
it was
I
listed.
saw it.
Yeah, they,
$750,000.
late in December is when they actually listed it.
Oh, okay, okay.
All they have in there basically is office space,
Right
isn't
now,
it?
that's correct.
Gentlemen, let's move to our next item, a contract to lease space to the USDA at Lane Agri Park.
You remember at a previous commission meeting, we extended that lease out there with the USDA for 1 year until such time as we could put together an offer, and then come back and finalize another firm 5 years of lease plus an additional option for them to add another 5 years to that lease. So what all we're asking you to do is to allow us to submit the offer. That will go through the process of their review, and they'll tell us if they're going to do it at the price we've offered. Currently, they're leasing it from us at $14 a square foot. We're proposing to offer it at $16 per square foot, and we think that's reasonable. You have to submit documentation, et cetera, to your current costs and what have you, but Mr. Davidson has reviewed the comparables, et cetera, so we think we're certainly well within the proper range of Class A commercial space. So we'd like permission to submit this offer for $16 per square foot.
You're under, but, yeah, I mean, you know, they're there and.
They're there and they're a good tenant. and
Good family,
They're
you know,
permanent,
so,
they're
yeah.
permanent, hopefully.
Yeah, yeah.
And
So how long's I'm sorry, how long is the timeframe?
Well,
Is it a
they would
4-year
have,
thing, or
they would have 5 years.
5 years.
And then at the end of that 5-year period, they'd have an option to renew it for 5, but at that point, we could revisit, and we would revisit, which we did previously already on the first 10-year lease.
and we raised the rates then, so we'd probably raise the rates again at the end of the 5-year period.
It's a good relationship, it's working out really good. We
Mhm.
want
Well,
to
it's
get as much as
handy.
we can, but we want to keep them there.
Yeah.
Right. Right, it's handy having that office close to our, rest of our agriculture departments too. But, we held this up before because of, what is that word that Congress did?
Sequestration.
Right, so they've got that settled, I assume, so they can go ahead with this bid. Is that why we're looking at it now?
No, actually, I think it came, it's
The
not
lease
that long.
expired at the end of the 10-year period.
Right.
So that's really the reason. So I don't think it really had anything to do with the
It was in
sequestration.
November, it expired the end of November, and it
End
was
of
just a matter,
November.
just a matter of getting the paperwork together and the submittal, I think.
I mean, it's a big stack of paper just to submit the offer, so it's cumbersome and,
But they agreed for a
time-consuming.
one-year extension
Already. yeah.
already, so
So we're in good shape.
we're in
We
good
just,
We're
we
in
just
good
gotta
shape.
work this out in the next 8 to 9 months. something like
Right.
that.
Well, we'd like for them to go ahead and accept it as soon as they can, so our rate can go up, but, so they've got actually to the end of that 12-month period that we extended starting
So
in.
it's actually through September, I believe.
Through
is when
September,
they
okay.
extended it through, yes.
You got a motion? Yes. Motion to approve.
Second.
Commissioner Jordan, seconded by Commissioner Petty. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Baum?
Yes?
Mr. Jernigan?
Yes.
Mr. Jordan?
Yes.
Mr. Peak?
Yes.
Commissioner Stanley?
Aye.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Ely?
Yes. Gentlemen, item 14 is a presentation of a CT 0253 form. It's a report on debt obligation. This is relative to our internal borrowing that we did. As you see, the amount in box number 5, the $7,400,000. We do not need any action taken tonight, but this is for your information. Mrs. Nolan, do you have anything you need to say about this?
No, it's just a formality and a requirement of the state that we just inform you that we did it and that there is no cost associated with this internal borrowing.
Okay, so let's move to other business, and you will remember that Mrs. Nolan alluded earlier in her report that she wanted to talk to us about the Smyrna primary addition. So if you will.
Comment real quick though,
Oh,
it says education 100%, so
It was
it was on
all-
all the education.
That 7.4 was for Blackman
Okay.
Middle Annex.
Okay. That's all I need.
And if you will locate the information under item 15.
I just want to talk about this and get a firm understanding, because it seemed like we piecemealed this Smyrna primary edition. In the beginning, the school board asked if they could fund the architect with some cash that was on hand. We did the planning and design for Smyrna Primary, I think at some time that we did the one for the Blackman Middle Annex. And I think it was in November that the school board came forth with their contract for construction. At that time, they moved $85,000 out of the Stewart's Creek project into the Smyrna Primary Edition. And the resolution that came out of here was approval for $2.2 million for the construction. As I am pulling together how much we will be going to the market to fund the project, I want to talk about the whole project. So, because right now, all the approval that's gone through the commission is $2.2 million. But to date, with commitments to date, the contract for the architect is at $109,500, engineering at $12,204, construction. All that totaled up. What we haven't talked about, it was always presented by the school board in their estimate of what the project would be for furniture and fixtures was $201,288 as a part of the whole project for the Smyrna Primary Edition. So the total project estimate today is $2,597,397. So what I would like to have is action by the committee and the commission that you would agree to fund the project up to $2.6 million. Now, when we start talking about how much money are we going to borrow, 85,000 of the project has already been funded by monies moved from Stewart's Creek. We've already talked about, and the school board has brought forward, it's still here, that the school board intent for the mixed drink tax owed by Smyrna to go to this project or some other project in case that it didn't get here on time. I spoke with some Smyrna officials, and we believe that we will get this within the next 30 to 45 days. So as far as money borrowing, and I just kind of show you on the side how much that means to us as far as not with putting that mixed drink tax, we will be borrowing almost $100,000 less that we will have to share with the city. So, anyway, the component I just wanted to get from the committee is an understanding that the whole project is about $2.6 million for the Smyrna project.
So basically, it's gonna be about 450,000 more than what the original estimates that we were
Well,
given, or?
the original estimate from the school board was over 2.5 million anyway, from the documents that they had presented all along. It's just that we've kind of piecemealed approving it.
This is sort of a cleanup process here, just to be sure we've got proper authority to fully fund this thing.
We actually only approved the construction cost.
Right.
When we knew full and well there was architect, engineering, and site development.
Furniture and fixtures, et cetera.
But when we approved the construction costs, we were assuming the $85,000 and the $550,000 in tax payments from Smyrna would be used for the other items, not for construction costs.
We didn't know at that time it for sure would be here. But generally, in the past, y'all have approved a project in total.
There was discussion about mixed drink tax, I remember that, but we just, this is kind of 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. Either we're gonna pay for that and put the money over here for the next project, or we're gonna use that money, but we still gotta spend the same amount of money.
We'll still spend the same
Yeah.
amount of money,
Yeah.
but the only authority on the books is 2.2 million.
The 450,335, is that what you're saying goes to the city of Murfreesboro?
If we had to borrow, if we don't have that mixed drink tax, then the amount that we would need to fund is $2,512,000. For us to get that amount, we would have to borrow $2,962,000 to share with the city, $450,000.
So by using the mixed drink tax, we
Tax,
save $98,585.
Right.
Well, we really save more than that because it's less that goes to Murfreesboro.
That's
what he
how
said.
much does not go to Murfreesboro.
Okay.
It's about $100,000 less.
What about when we used the money from Stewart's Creek that went to Smyrna Primary? Did we have to do some adjustment there? Because that was high school money that
No,
went to.
because when you start back into Stewart's Creek, the school board transferred 85,000 from the general purpose school into
So it's the same
Stewart's
money,
Creek, so that's shared money already. That piece has already been shared.
So would you clarify or be very specific, what do you need in a motion from us?
That approve the Smyrna primary addition not to exceed $2.6 million.
And whether or not the mixed drink tax comes in or not is beside the motion.
Right.
We know it's coming, we'll plug it in when we get it.
Right.
It's really broke ground down there, have they not? They've awarded the contract.
They've awarded the contract.
We'll find out.
Motion to approve.
Commissioner
I'll second,
Jordan, thank
I'll
you.
second that motion.
Seconded by Commissioner Pease. Discussion? Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes?
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yeah.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes.
Commissioner Key?
Yes.
Commissioner Salmon?
Aye.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Ely?
Yes. Mrs. Nolan, do you have anything else?
No, ma'am.
Mayor Burgess?
No.
Gentlemen, is there anything else that needs to come before our committee?
This is the second Saturday, and it's in cold weather months. It's not May yet, so it's time for the Laverne Rescue Squad ham breakfast on Gamble Lane, which is right behind us. Civic Auditorium in Laverne, which fronts on the old Nashville Highway. It's from 6 to 10 o'clock in the morning. So come one, come all, especially all you politicians.
Any other business that needs to come before our committee? Gentlemen, thank you very much. We are adjourned.
That's right.